heart, with their whole soul and mind, and with all their strength, and love their neighbors as themselves. Oh, how happy and blessed are men and women when they do these things and persevere in doing them. And may they keep those fragrant words of our Lord Jesus Christ in their mind and carry them out in a holy manner to the end, because they are spirit and life. Thus starts and ends the letter to the faithful that our seraphic Father Francis wrote, and which contains the basis for penitential spirituality. For this reason, it served as the first inspirational document for the Order of Brothers and Sisters of Penance, later known as Franciscan Third Order. In 1221, the Church gave the Memoriale Propositi as a rule to the Brothers and Sisters of Penance. It was approved by Pope Honorius III. This rule has been updated by the Church several times through to the treasure secular Franciscans have today. The 1228 version of Memoriale Propositi, we find precise guidelines: simplicity of dress, meat only 3 days a week, fasting on Fridays, communion 3 times a year, paying tithes and debts, reconciling with neighbors, being free of all suspicion of heresy, attending Mass together once a month, paying a monthly contribution for the sick and needy, attending funerals, visiting the sick, praying for all, making a will, not taking arms against anyone, which some historians believe helped bring an end to the Crusades. And finally, a woman needed the consent of her husband to join. 1289, in the papal bull Supremontem, Pope Nicholas IV gives the Franciscan Third Order a revised rule of life for seculars living in their own homes called tertiaries. For the first time, it recognizes Francis as the founder of the Order of Penitents and gives the friars of the First Order responsibility for visitations and formation of the penitent. It follows the rule of 1221, but arranges things in a juridical order. This rule guided Third Order Franciscans for almost 7 centuries. Pope Leo XIII approved a new rule called Misericordias Dei Filius in 1883. It spells out what should and should not be done: monthly communion and confession, avoid extremes, avoid lewd shows, and recite the office of 12 Our Fathers and 12 Hail Marys. The order becomes more a devotional society than an order. The present rule was approved by Pope Paul VI on June 24, 1978, through his apostolic letter Seraphitas Patriarcha. This rule was designed to address the needs of the Church in changing times. It is composed of 3 chapters and 26 inspiring articles, which reflect more faithfully St. Francis's letter to the faithful. This rule clearly positions the secular Franciscan order as an equal member of the Franciscan family. Once again, it is recognized as an order, a way of life to which people of diverse conditions are called. The process of writing the rule of 1978 took some interesting twists and turns. In March of 1966, shortly after the conclusion of the Second Vatican Council, the Ministers General of the 4 Franciscan obediences gave their blessings to begin work on a new rule for the Third Order, as the secular Franciscan order was known at that time. They invited national fraternities to make suggestions as to the content of the new rule. Responses were forwarded to the Rule Project Commission in Assisi, an international council consisting of friars and church leaders, reviewed the responses and completed the first draft of the rule in 1968. They sent this draft to the national fraternities for critique. The responses were very negative. This would not be an easy process, but it reflected the fact that the members of the order understood in their hearts their charism even before the rule was finalized. The critiques reflected and provided a guideline for the direction that the rule should take. Listen to some of the comments about the first draft. Does not reflect people as they are now actually living in the world. Does not reflect meeting the needs of the world. The concept of Vatican II is absent. The ecumenical spirit is lacking. The eschatological view is blurred. Enough stress is put on being secular. It deals too much with the rights and powers of the priests and does not mention the mutual responsibility of the first and third orders. Mention about the message and mission to the world. It does not envision the order as a community, but as an institution and organization. Francis's spirit is not expressed in the rule of life. Chapter 1 mentions the gospel as the tertiary's rule of life. After that, there are only moral regulations and invitations to devotional practices. Nothing is said about the need for continuous conversion. This draft is for a dying third order, not the third order of the future. Whew. This was not going well. Secular Franciscans knew what they wanted and weren't afraid to share their thoughts. In their hearts, they recognized their charism, their mission, their focus, and it had to be in the new rule. The Royal Commission met again in January 1969. At that meeting, they recognized that there were no third order members present. To correct this oversight, they invited third order leaders to participate in the next gathering, the Assisi Congress held in October of 1969. Allowing laypersons to participate in the writing of their rule was unprecedented. It would make a world of difference. Together, they produced 17 essential elements for a new rule. Live the gospel according to the spirit of St. Francis. Continual conversion. Live as brothers and sisters to all people and all creation. Live in communion with Christ. Follow the poor and crucified Christ. Share in the life and mission of the church. Be instruments of peace. Have a life of prayer that is personal, communal, and liturgical. Be at the service of the less fortunate. Live in simplicity, humility, and minority. These elements were to become the essence of the new rule. Of special importance would be that it should have a spirituality of a secular character. With the new rule, the order would also have a new name, the Secular Franciscan Order. Blessed Paul VI signed the new rule in June of 1978, 12 years after the rule project began. The rule calls secular Franciscans to go from gospel to life and life to the gospel. Essential articles of the rule bring out the importance of the work of secular Franciscans for peace and justice, ecology, work, and family. Challenges secular Franciscans to interface with the world in which they live. It emphasizes the spirituality of secular Franciscans. To live the gospel, following Francis through daily conversion, in community, as seculars, united with all Franciscans around the world. To complete the treasure that we call the Secular Franciscan Rule of 1978, the exhortation of St. Francis to the brothers and sisters of penance was added as a prologue to the rule. A message our seraphic father, St. Francis, wrote to remind us of our roots and our mission. Finally, a rule written with and for secular Franciscans. A rule secular Franciscans can live and breathe every moment of every day. This treasure speaks to us, directs us, inspires us to live our Franciscan charism and to offer it to the world as a gift of love. Let us celebrate it with our lives.
How many of you have not seen it, that video? We're wanting to take it. Our sister Emery Shana's got it on her computer. I've got a flash stick because it's somewhere, but I've lost it. But we've got it, so you can take it back. Does that sound? Sorry. Am I loud enough like that? No. I have to use this. Sorry. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and I really, you should open it now. I thank you for the opportunity of being here, and I just want to go back to the beginning. Because as Franciscans, we always go back to the beginning, because up to now we've done nothing. In 2014, and I'm trying to think of a father from Eritrea's name. Emmanuel.
Yeah.
He was the general assistant from Eritrea. And what the presidency council had decided, what we needed for Africa, to have a project Africa. Because the rest of the world was understanding the order, but we were not understanding it in Africa. Our priests were starting this order because they wanted religious or whatever, and we were not conforming. So they asked us to get together and create Project Africa. One of the things with Project Africa was to create formation and to dig up in Africa that the charism university is the same, not as we would like it to be in Africa. Okay, so we needed to conform, so we started Project Africa, and since then I worked out, I think this is the 5th English formation workshop that we are having from 2014. We were working together with a team, but it was decided no, we don't need a team. The national fraternities have been stimulated now, and it's left to the presidency councillors. I, at that general chapter, was elected as a presidency councillor for English-speaking Africa, for United States of America and Canada. That was my responsibility. In 2021, we had our next general chapter, and our sister Emery Shiana, she has now been elected as a presidency councillor for English and Portuguese Africa. So my sister has taken over from being responsible, it's not fun, being responsible for every single secular Franciscan in English and Portuguese speaking Africa. Thank you, Sister Emery Shiana. I just want to highlight, we are servants. It's not about a position of power, it's about service. And what we do together, and it's not a thing, I've done mine now, I can disappear. That is why I'm still absolutely willing to assist our sister in any way, that we're not dropping what has been happened, that whatever's been happening is continued. Because we've got Africa is still not conforming to the universal order. And when we're talking like this, I'm talking about UFRA as well. That is why the topics that are chosen are extremely important. I immediately now also apologize if I'm going to come out strong, but it's, as you know, that I've been through I'm in a washing machine going round and round, but it's my care and my love for this order. And I'd love Africa, having been able to, during my time, I was in Sri Lanka, I was in Australia, New Zealand, I was in the Philippines. We don't only exist in Africa, and seeing how everybody, and especially you, live things, I really would love to pass it over to all of you that you can fully understand. You've all got members, brothers and sisters, there are many here that have attended general chapters. If they haven't brought back to the experience, it is sad. Because the experience of being part of a universal order is really wonderful. It's a big, loving family. And we all do exactly the same. There is no deviation. So, and in a very special way, I think this is actually, we had it in Zambia, and we've got it now. We have got so many more of our first order and our third order sisters, our religious, our spiritual assistants. And please, when we talk about Project Africa, it includes you as well. Remember we had Father Emmanuel, who started it, Eritrea. We're very much part of this project. And it's not only about our provincials, our couriers, it's about every one of you. We've got a life-giving union that we need to grow. Have we got children in our wombs, or have we got illegitimate children out there? It's up to us as secular Franciscans to work and have that collaboration. And we start in our local fraternities. We're not looking at national. Forget about national. Forget about regional. If you hold those offices, forget it. Let's look at what's happening in our local fraternities. This is the source and essence of who and what we are. So, I'm going to, there are slides, and maybe you've got something from Sister Jana. I'm trying not to be too long, because time is of a factor. There's a lot of time taken for meals and for discussion. So, and I'm sorry that I haven't, mine was changed, but now I'm using Sister Emerentiana's because I can't find my stick, our flash stick. So we're doing exactly the same what happened in Zambia in 2 months ago. So can we all say this prayer? Let us pray. Almighty, eternal, just, and merciful God, have us do for your sake what we know you want, and have us always want whatever is pleasing to you, so that cleanse interiorly, and interiorly enlighten, and glow with the fire of the Holy Spirit, we may be able to follow the footsteps of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. May by your soul saving grace, may we be able to get to you, holy perfect Trinity, and simple unity, be and reign, and shine, as glory and majesty, world without end. Amen. I'm not going to read everything, but it's there. You can see, and you saw in the video, which was very clear, how the order, the rule has changed. But the most important is that we are a public association of the faithful in the Catholic Church. It's divided into fraternities, local, regional, national, and international. And we are governed by the universal law of the Church, by its own rule, constitution, rituals, and statutes. Eupra, I'm not leaving you out. You are also governed. Everything that we talk about the OFS, Eupra need to know and they need to do and follow. They are not just a little group on the side. They need to know the rule and know the Constitution. So thank you for being here. And there we had Pope Pius VI. We are an order, a lay order, but truly an order in the true sense of the word. Sister Emerentian, I'm sure, gave elaboration on that. We don't go into that. We've got our rule, which establishes the nature, purpose, and the spirit of the order. Article 4, General Constitution. And you can see, we saw our rule. Who approved our rule? I'm not going to go into questions. We'll do those questions afterwards, because otherwise we lose time. But you can see now who's giving us the go-ahead with our constitutions. The prefect of the Congregation for Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life. Sister, our sisters, are you under that umbrella too? The prefect, the Congregation for Institute of Consecrated Life? Yes. You know, when they meet in Rome, you know who's present with them? Representing us, our General Minister. So this is where we fall into. We are part of the religious family, but we are secular. There it is. When you open your constitution, you've got the letter there. It's there. It should be remembered that the OFS is directly dependent on the Holy See and the Pope, and in particular through the Congregation of Institute of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life. Did anybody not know this? Please put your hand up. Do you all know this?
No.
If we didn't know this, we do not know who we are. This is where we are. We've got such dignity. So please, if you're going to fall asleep, I'm a grandmother. I've got 8 grandchildren. So excuse me, when I see you falling asleep, I'm going to ask you to stand up. And I'm going to home in on you. So if you're feeling sleepy, stand up or do something. Okay. I'm sorry it's a long day. Okay. So, you can read this yourself. Go on. The letter repeats St. John Paul's true appeal regarding what the Church has always expected and looked from us, in order to be able truly to rely on each of us, just as she could rely on Francis and all his family. The Church has got expectations of us. The Holy See constantly reminds us, authoritatively and insistently, we are a living, integral and essential part of the Church, where we must exercise in full our role as a living body. I'm trying to explain our structure and the organization. This is what we're falling into. You can, great. That's fine. Okay. We're supposed to be a community of love. And we have challenges, but we work through them with the charism of St. Francis and with our Catholic faith. Go. St. Damien on the cross. So we're an international public association bonded in a unique way to the Roman Pontiff, from where it has received the approval of the rule. And if you go down to the bottom there, we're a public association, we're international, and we link by the bond with the Roman Pontiff, who gave this rule and confirmed its mission in the Church in the world. Our mission is not in the Church. It's in the world where we live, where you live, with what you're facing, what we are facing in our secular life, in our workplace, in our TV, wherever we we are. This is where we live our mission. We've got to get out of the churches. We're not a sodality. Okay, there we've got St. Francis, who gave us those who do penance and those who don't do penance, and that's early primitive rule. And then we've got the same thing, Francis, go repair my house, which as you see is falling completely to ruin. Where is the domestic church and where's the domestic house that is falling into ruin today? Thank you, Father. The family. What are we doing to rebuild the family? I'm great, I'm a secular Franciscan. What is happening in my family? We'll go on more into that. Okay. John Paul II, he calls us to Christ to interiorize gospel values. Franciscans were quick to see the parallel between the call of Christ through the Holy Father and his call to the world through Francis of Assisi. Again, go repair my house. It's completely falling to ruin. And there you can see. And I really thank our brothers and sisters in America. What they have helped us with the books, the information that we can use. And I really encourage you to get the libraries and read them because we will learn so much. Then we've got Father Lester Bach, an amazing friar who wrote so much and helped us to understand our rule. They understood us. What have we got from Africa? I ask our friars. A challenge. Help us, please. Okay. In our new rule and constitution, we find the spiritual way of Francis. Oh, we've got to study this. St. John Paul II asks us to study and live our rule. Okay. You've heard, we heard the new one. Okay, just as read. This was an issue because of the change conditions of the times, which you saw in the video. We need to go into what exactly is happening, that we can really live this out. Remember, the Pope has given us, this is where we belong. Okay? What is the secular Franciscan order? A true order, but a lay order. We are not religious. So please, we've had such confusion in Africa about thinking we are religious and look religious, that the order has not grown and our families are dying. The Holy See, the Pope, he's a major responsibility. We're part of the congregation. We belong to the Franciscan family. As you can see in this here, and what you saw in the video, Father, our general assistants move on. Now these are the Minister Generals. And we've got Father Amanda Tujula. There are only in Zambia we had a TOR brother. Only in South Africa do we have the TOR. There's great confusion with other branches of the Franciscan family, the friars. They are not the TOR that the Pope is talking to, that our ruler is talking to. Only in South Africa do we have a third order religious, a TOR. The ones we have in Kenya are not the TOR that the constitution the ruler is referring to. They are not part of this body. We respond, so we belong to the family. You can see there's our brother Tibor, our general minister, and he's present here today. This is a t-shirt from the Eucharistic Congress in Hungary. He gave it to me, and he's present here, and there he is in the picture. Okay, so we respond to a vocational call from God. Very important when we're doing our discernment with formation. Not everybody is called to be a Franciscan. Is it a vocation? That's why we need our brothers and our sisters to help us in the local fraternities. Has this person got a vocation? We haven't got a vocation. Go and join another body. but they have to have a Franciscan vocation. We are Catholic. Are we truly Catholic? In Africa, we have a problem of a lot of cultures. These things, we had a lady in our fraternity, she wanted to make a profession, but she was still wanting to do the culture of using the blood on the altar. We need to be truly Catholic, and that witness we show, our behavior and our witness, how we respect the holiness of the chapel, of the church. Do we walk in there, just walk in? The feast of today, Saint Maximilian Kolbe. I was in Canada and the doors opened. And I heard this door open and I heard footsteps. Silence. For a while. They got up, they walked down. They had their habits on. And I said to them, "Who are you?" They were the friars of St. Maximilian Kolbe. They showed their witness of how when they entered the church, immediately they bowed down. This is holy ground. For 5 minutes they prayed before they took a step into the church. They showed the holiness of God in the tabernacle. How Catholic are we in sharing that we believe that's the true body, blood of God in the tabernacle? We need to be Catholic. How Franciscan are we? When we want to know what's going in the fraternity, our sister. Woo-hoo. When you see in the local fraternity, you see in the national how the fighting, the bickering is going on. And you're promoting a Franciscan charism. How do we promote the order? It's our behavior, our attitude. We're a family. We're universal. Okay? We were very blessed at the chapter of 2021. Pope Francis, we had an audience with him. Do you think a fidelity or a movement in your church could just have an audience with Holy Father? And he gave us a message. That's our official document. And I just want to say something. Our official documents, be careful please. We have just revised them because we did take the original, the constitutions with the Italian translation, and we had to make sure that the English was correct. There are no changes, but there's changes in some words and the way they are put, that we've got the clear translation from the Italian. Here's your letter to the 4 Minister Generals. They're responsible for us. So the Pope is given, the organization is our Holy Father, the 4 Minister Generals. They are in Rome. We've got some of you, I don't know if you've met Father Amanda, and yes. Anyway, that you need to find out from your friars exactly who's who, your Minister Generals. Okay, you can see there's the signatures. Thank you. Oh, our youth are wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, their signatures you can see. That's the letter to us. Okay? You can read it in your room. Move on. The apostolic approval from Pope Paul VI, it's there. Have you done formation on these letters? What do you do in your local fraternities? Have you read them? Do you know where they are? Okay. Go next. That's St. Francis concerning those who do penance. Go on. Don't do penance. Very important for us to live our way that we should live. Okay, go on. Okay, so our rule, this is what governs us, how to live. There you can see, and this is I want to just share, how the collaboration with our spiritual assistant. Father Dominic Hessian, he was our national spiritual assistant. He broke it up for us, and he helped us to understand. How are your spiritual assistants helping you to understand what's in our books? That is their role. They understand this terminology. We don't. We wash dishes. Okay. So that was broken down. Next one. There's a decree. Okay. So this is where we attend. This is where it's totally said in our rule. That was Article 1, 2 and 3, that we're in order. I mean, a secular state, and we profess our profession, they pledge to live the gospel. Okay, go on. I know Stemmer and Charles said some of this. This family tree, who did it for us? Father Dominic Hessian. So friars, please, sisters, please, you can help us. Please. There we can see, there's Father Pedro, who should be here but couldn't be here. He's the general assistant at the moment. And the poor Clares are in the middle, and there of course we've got Father Manda being the TOR. And then our other religious congregation of a third order religious. And Euphra, please, there you are also. You have got a status. Now these Euphra are also those that have got double belonging and are part of the order already. That's why they're at the general chapters. Okay. Move on. Okay, here's our life in fraternity, our structure. We've got levels of fraternity. International, national, regional, local. Article 20. Article 21, council and minister. Each level has a council and minister to animate and guide. Please note, it's not minister and council. I went, and I won't tell you which country. I went to one country for the elective chapter. After the election, the national minister was in a hall, he sat on the stage. Oh, Mr. President. Please, brothers and sisters, we wash each other's feet. Please, even while we're here, can we help with keeping clean? We all got something we can do. Let's serve each other. Okay, local fraternity. Here members have a sense of church and the Franciscan vocation. The local fraternity is the essence of the order. I want to have some questions of what's happening in your local fraternities. Admissions of new members. How many of you have got registers? And in your register of all your formation, when you made your admission before you started your candidacy, you did what the ritual said and the Constitution said, and you have signed in your register. When the pastoral visits and fraternal visits are done, it needs to be checked. If it's not done, our previous presidency councillor, sister, she said, our profession is not valid. Do you understand the seriousness of what I'm telling you? If we do not follow our rule and constitutions and ritual, we've got people in the order that are not valid. It's very serious, especially in Africa. We've got a lot of people that have just been made profession, they've never been admitted, and now they profess them in their national minister. It's not valid. So whatever they're doing is not valid. Meetings of fraternity to encourage life in fraternity, common fund. This is the saddest point. You know why my bag disappeared? God had a message. In doing the Liturgy of the Hours little booklet, just to make sure that we were not wasting money. To get it printed in South Africa was cheaper. So I had to load my case with those books. It was too heavy for me to take on board. It disappeared. Why did that happen? You know why? Everybody, and this is what is so sad, I won't pull out countries, you all know, every professed member must pay according to their means, article. You can tell me which article in our rule. Africa never pays. We just want. Am I right? There are countries that haven't paid their contributions to CEOs for years. You know what? There is no money in the International Council. Where's the money coming from? All of us have made that consent. We want to belong to this order, we will contribute. But we want to be there at the general chapter where we can get subsidy. We want to be there, but I'm not going to pay, but you can find the money at certain times. It was a nightmare for me for 7 years. And I'm sure it still is. Because number one, we do not know who belongs to the order in the national fraternities. We don't know who's the members. We cannot get the details, the proper details. We cannot get them. So what is happening in the local fraternity? We're a true order. We're just like sisters. Sister, what would you do if you've got people in your community and you don't know if they are legitimate? What would you do? So what are we doing? All of you here present need to verify yourselves that you are genuinely professed, that you really belong to this order, and what you're doing at home is true and correct. Because that is why Project Africa was started. Because we do not know, and we still don't know. I could never get the details. You know why I'm so much more grand? And I don't want you to do that to my sister, please. That's her responsibility now. So please, spiritual assistance as a sign of unity within the Franciscan family. In the local fraternity, how was it born? How was it first born? Who can tell me? Have you got local fraternities? Don't be afraid. I won't bite you. How was the local fraternity formed? And we're also talking about UFRA. How was it, your local fraternity, how was it born? Do you know? Father, would you please stand up?
Anyone who interested press to start SCFO, UFRA group has to, before starting the formation, has to inform the higher council, in which case maybe if there is a national council there, or if there is no national council, maybe the presidency, and starts the formation. And then slowly goes to all the the necessary steps.
But who is responsible for the birth? The provincial or the custos. So you need to have that document, the birth certificate in every local fraternity, that this Capuchin provincial or this conventual provincial or the OFM provincial at that time signed it and took full responsibility of that fraternity. And they regularly do fraternal and pastoral visits to see what's happening in that local fraternity is correct. How many of your local fraternities have got that document, the birth certificate? How many have got it? Verbal.
We go 5 of
A good blessing is Ethiopia. They were going before. The bishop started them. Brother, you give the history. And we said, it's not right. They began again. They're doing everything according to him. He's got it all. I want to give a big hand to Father and they've got Euphra, and they're going, and he's saying to me, where's this document, where's that, what do we do here? He's helping them, because there's a problem now. I cannot speak Amharic. I cannot read Amharic. But you know what's had to happen? The presidency, Tibor, should have gone and accepted. But he delegated, so I've been working in close connection as the local minister of the local fraternities, but my trust has been Father Mateus is doing everything that should be done, and we've worked together. This is a local fraternity. What is happening in your local fraternity? What has happened? For you to verify yourself, for Africa to become alive, we need to go back and get all these things and make sure it's happening. Because if it's not happening, who in this room is legal? I know I am. I've got my register. I can show you on the thing. I can show you every bit of formation I did. I can show you who accepted my admission, who accepted my profession. It wasn't the national minister, and it wasn't a regional minister. And the local spiritual assistant was present. How many of your local fraternities have got a local spiritual assistant? Please raise your hands. One. You've got a local spiritual assistant. You've got one. We cannot exist without a local spiritual assistant. What does it say in our constitution? We go to that provincial who signed our birth certificate and we ask him for a suitably prepared local spiritual assistant. My fraternity was started in 1947 and we have never not had a local spiritual assistant who's present at all our fraternity meetings and all of our local council meeting. He is there. You know how important it is for him to be there? I may be going on and on and on. He'll say, Jenny, you've said your point. It's enough. Oh yes, you're a bit excited now. They've got that spiritual input of waiting to guide us and help us. They see our needs, they give it. If you've never had a local spiritual assistant, then I ask, who did your interview to discern you got a vocation? Who did it? The local spiritual assistant does it 3 times. Was it done? If it's not done, did you really have a vocation? It says it in here. I'm not saying anything out of here. Sorry. Please, brothers and sisters, if you want to go forward, we've got to begin again, because up to down we've done nothing. Okay. Let's do it properly. The local spiritual assistant does not accept the profession. He's only there as a witness to see it's all done correctly. Not the national minister, the national spiritual assistant, or the regional spiritual assistant. No, the local spiritual assistant. Brothers, I am so happy, and our sisters can be spiritual assistants as well, as long as they are suitably prepared. Don't just go and just say, okay, you can be. They need to understand and know what this is, otherwise they're not going to help us. So, okay. So they need to do the pastoral and fraternal visitation. You can see it's in your rule. This one. Sorry. Okay, this is the levels of fraternity. It's much the same again. Just go back. The fraternity is the essence of Christian living. Everybody's lost the essence of what happens in a local fraternity, and we're only interested in being on a council, regional or national, or an international councillor. And then I go to the general chapter, I go to this, I go to Rome. I'm going to ask questions. What have you received back? What is happening? Where's any information? Are you doing your backwards communication? I've got all the documents here. I want to find out which ones you've received. So if you can please write down which documents you've received since the chapter of 2021. Which one have you received recently? What is happening in the universal family? What are you doing about the review of the international statutes? How many of you sent your comments on the international statutes? This is governing how we live, how we serve. Can you raise your hands? How many of you gave comments, and those comments were submitted to Isabella, our international secretary? Can you please raise your hands? Which country sent that in? We've got no voice. Now your international councillor comes in to the general chapter and is sitting there, and you either have a red card or a green card or a white card. Now we need to vote. And he's voting for every single brother and sister in the local fraternity that has gone through all this documentation. He knows your opinion. And the same happens for UFRA, because there are things that are the legal person that is properly professed as UFRA has got a voice for secular Franciscans. And he votes, no, my country never accepted all those articles. Yes, everyone in my country accepts it, yes, and he'll raise the green card. So if you've never submitted in January this year, we're supposed to have sent all our comments in. The national secretaries here, if you never sent it in, what have you done for the local fraternities? What is happening if you're not going down to the basics to your local fraternity? This is our structure. Then we're not part of the universal family. What are we then? Okay, next one. How can we hope to build a loving fraternity? The rule of 1223. If a mother loves and cherishes a son that is born of her, how much more should each one love and cherish his brothers and sisters? Maybe you say, I'm not very loving. But as a mother, what do you do when you love? You try and help to do the way it should be done. So I apologize, I'm your grandmother or whatever. Please, I'm just reinforcing what's in there. Please, let us get an interest and a desire into what we are. Right, next one. Here's a breakdown, and as you can see, look at the roots. Without a local fraternity, there's no order. There's no order if you don't have a local fraternity. You don't need regions, you don't need national, you don't need international if we don't have local fraternities. That is where everything is lived. Everything that is decided and everything comes from every single person that's made their profession a local fraternity. So you can see we start at the bottom. Then because we need people to guide and animate and help us, we have a regional council. Then of course we need that to be animated, because you can have, how many regions are there in Tanzania? Who's from Tanzania here? How many regions? 24 regions. 23 regions. So the 23 regions, how many local fraternities do you have?
About 196.
196. How many members, brothers and sisters, do you have?
1,484 or so.
So your National Secretary's got quite a challenge to make sure that we get input from every 1,970. They all understand everything and they give the feedback. Hey? And then it goes up, the feedback goes up. And then we have the International Council, and if anybody thinks that is a joyful holiday, I think our sister Emerentiana can give you a sharing. And when you talk about time, and you want to give your input, you've got 10 seconds, eh? And you've got to give a report on all the countries you visited. Because we've got how many countries in the world, and we've got to get this done in half an hour. So have your facts, get them over clearly. Be prepared, be ready. But if you don't get it from your national fraternities, how do we actually give any response? How do we give any feedback? Maybe you understand where I'm coming from, my frustrations for 7 years of trying to get. You get it from our friars who actually, Father, can I have this? Can I have now? Can I have this? Because where am I going to? To the friars. Because the secular Franciscans are not able to do it, or what, I don't know. So we need to pick up our responsibility and become able and capable, that we do what we are called to do. Okay. So then you've got your Presidency Council. We discussed it as a presidency before the General Chapter. The decision was made at the General Chapter. Do we continue with all the countries and the responsibility of the Presidency Councillor as it was before, or do we change? And my question was, I'm responsible for America and Canada, North America and English Africa. There is so much going on in English Africa, I cannot give any attention to what is happening in America. Fortunately, America and Canada are doing things properly. So I was able to let them go. But I couldn't do any attention to them because there's so much attention that's needed to our national fraternities in Africa. Please, come on board and help our sister. This is the structure that I'm talking about. With UFRA, the same thing applies. Now with UFRA, we had our dear brother Gilbert, you've seen him in the pictures. At that time, Gilbert, when you were on the international, were you already professed as a secular Franciscan?
Yes.
Were you professed?
Yes.
So, we've got to be careful. UFRA cannot be on anything unless they are part of a secular Franciscan. There's double belonging. They are still UFRA, but they've done the formation to belong. They've got to do the candidacy phase into the secular Franciscan order. They don't automatically just join. They've got to do formation. We've got to be able to see it in their registers as he's walking. So please, this is our organization and our structure. We've got to be very careful what we do and what we accept. Everybody, when you get a chapter, you see people, they never come for visits, they never come for formation. Oh, but now you're going to have an elective chapter. Who's all there suddenly? The room is full. They now want leadership. It's not leadership, it's servant. And then they get elected, and what happens? What happens? You answer it yourselves. Okay. So, then we go back, you can see the Presidency Council, then you go to the 4 General Ministers. And our top structure is our Holy Father, the decree. That is our organization and our structure. Everything comes under that. Okay, let's go. What is the time? Okay, here we are, just, you can see here. So, I actually come to Uganda. Uganda's been going for how many years? 100 years? But what happened? Was it done correctly? So what's happening? You're just a presence. in my time of office, was asking, please do it this way. As I said, as Father Matibus is doing it. And that's we're doing it, and that's where I hope it's going like that it can become legitimate and become part, emerging and constituted. Okay, there's a process. We don't just automatically get there. I don't even know, going back to the history of Tanzania and even Kenya, because we never got actual facts of proper canonical erection of every local fraternity and legitimate professions. We've got a struggle in South Africa. We've got over 100 fraternities, and only 10 can we really verify that are. So we haven't had an elective chapter since 2009, because we're trying to correct. But let's begin again, so don't worry. Let's just follow and do. We cannot do it alone. We can only do it if we are working with our provincial. The provincial is the person responsible for every single local fraternity that he canonically erected. You're very fortunate, there's only the Capuchins in Ethiopia and Eritrea as well, where you've got 3 or 4 orders. The Capuchin, he can't just come and do something if the OFM canonically erected. That fraternity is the OFM's fraternity. And he's responsible every 3 years to make sure you've got a suitably prepared local spiritual assistant that's been appointed in writing. If you haven't got, your council and the local minister need to write that letter to the provincial. That's why the documentation is so important. You don't know who actually started the fraternity, who made it be born. Do you understand how we've got to go? That is what the structure and the organisation is about. So, and then the national, I don't even know if these numbers are, we don't know if they're actually correct, because we don't know. Yes, sister, you got your hand up at the back there.
Thank you. My concern is, you were stressing the idea of the fact that fraternity to be legally formed, it must be assisted by a member of the first order, either baptism or conventual or everything. However, my experience is that many of the third order regular members are initiators of these groups. I'm looking at our foundress, Mother Kevin. 1903 she came out here, and because she was so full of the spirit of St. Francis, she automatically started the fraternity. But it would look like it has never existed now because she didn't do it properly. But mind you, that time there were no friars minor, there were none of these people. And even up to now, we third order regular members move into areas where friars minor are not. And we feel we need to start to spread the spirit of St. Francis. Our communication here in Africa is not so up to date as it is in Western countries. Even the movement, the transportation, so it might not be so easy to get to a friar minor when you are 150 or 200 miles away from where they are. So what exactly are you telling us?
Sister, the Holy Father has appointed the First Order and TRR to be responsible. If they are present in Uganda, you need to approach them. They need to take responsibility, and they need to get the fraternity canonically erected. They can appoint you to be the local spiritual assistant, even regional spiritual assistant. But they've got to take responsibility for that family. So it's no problem. They've just got to understand which fraternity are we going to take responsibility for. If you've got the OFM in your area, then you approach that provincial. If the Capuchins are there, or the conventions are there in that area, go and give all your stuff to them, and when they come and do the visits, they verify anything, they've got to take responsibility. We need parents. And they are the fathers that the Pope has given us. So it's no problem, you've just got to get that work done. Am I correct in understanding? Yes, brother.
Thank you, sister. My name is Harrington. I joined the fraternity of Our Lady of Angels in 1982. But it's not yet clear for me whether other people started the fraternity. But we got members who were interested in the fraternity. Francis Pure, Mark, and Walusi, the father of Sister Celestine. Those were just interested. We were 3 of them. And we were following, they gave them the rules and the study. But when it came time to get the fraternity, Sister Meve, who started us, he wrote to the bishop, by then auxiliary bishop, and he asked for permission to start an order. And then the cardinal, who was not in the office by then, when he came back, the auxiliary bishop informed him about the sister who is interested to start a fraternity. That sister was the Franciscan sister for Africa, Sister Meve. Then, officially, the Archbishop accepted the fraternity to start at Our Lady of Angels. That's the history of the first fraternity I know. But the others were just interested members who followed the rule with the recommendation of Sister Mother Kevin. But I started to be corrected because the sisters are our mothers here, they know everything, but I started to be corrected. So I've been in the fraternity for the last 41 years.
Thank you, brother, but now there is
What I forgot.
Yes.
When Sister Meve died, Sister Celestine took over. Sister Celestine was from Little Sisters of St. Francis. She took over. So about the canonical existence, we don't know. But I know of the letters wrote to the Bishop and the concept of the Bishop.
Brother, we have sodalities, I don't know what you call them here, associations. What do you call them? Lay apostle, whatever. The bishop is responsible for them. They are not a true order. Remember, we've gone through the beginning. We are a true order. When the consecrated life meet, we are there present. The bishop, he cannot take responsibility. The provincial, if there are no friars in that area, the provincial communicates with the bishop and gets permission that they can exist. And then they do it. Father, yes. Would you like to answer or question?
Just maybe to add on what Sister has mentioned. Yeah, there is what we call collaboration in the propagation of Franciscan spirituality. Now, the danger normally is when there are fraternities, as she mentioned, that are formed, and then maybe a diocesan priest takes over, or even a lay person takes over. So there is what we call delegation of maybe sisters in the Franciscans, or even brothers, to take care of those fraternities so as to safeguard the Franciscan spirituality. What the bishop does is to give maybe permission that they are recognized and help them spread. Now the danger also happens when there are Franciscan presence, but they tend to ignore such fraternities. Maybe saying friars are not around, maybe look for them. But since they have that Franciscan spirituality, they are delegated to take care of that fraternity, and once in a while, maybe they can be visited. There is that fraternal visitation. And normally before any fraternity is begun, according to our constitution, the local ordinary has to be informed. Not necessarily to take care of that fraternity, but to be informed, so that he is aware that there is this fraternity, and he has also to make sure that as now spiritual assistants, to help them really be formed in a Franciscan way. Otherwise, if you leave it to the diocesans, they may even have something that maybe may not even be in line with the Franciscan spirituality. So I think, sister, you are right.
We inform the bishop at all times, but the provincial informs the bishop. The provincial informs him that he's canonically erected that fraternity, and he has appointed a suitably prepared spiritual assistant, which can be the sister. What the bishops are doing are appointing chaplains to look after this group. And this group has got no connection with the provincials. Correct?
Yes.
That is what we need to correct. And we can only do that if we've got this life-giving union with us. If we've got national spiritual assistants here, that's wonderful. But we need to knock on the door of our provincials. It's their responsibility. Yes, brother.
Thank you, Sister Jenny. My question is, can a religious member who is not in the Franciscan family be part of the Franciscan, or can join the Franciscan way of life? Apart from the secular priest, maybe can give an example if a priest is belonging to Combon or other religious congregation. My question, that's the question.
Open Article 41. No, not 41. Sorry, I'm just going through here.
Well, I have asked because there are some religious who
Yeah,
they love the Church of St. Francis.
89:4. Please open your. I hope you've all got your room constitutions with you. If you haven't got them, then why not? Are you coming? Is this your book of life, your way of life, your birth certificate? Brothers and sisters, please. Why are you here? I'm sorry. Open Article 89:4. Because India tells us exactly what we should do. And our brothers, our priests, have you got copies of this? Have you got the manual for the spiritual assistants? Please, we need to refer to this all the time. Otherwise, why am I standing here talking about organization, structure, and governance and everything? It's all in here. 89.4. When it is not possible to give such a spiritual assistant fraternity, the competent major superior can entrust the service of spiritual assistance to religious brothers or sisters of other Franciscan institutes. Our sisters can be appointed. Diocesan clerics or other persons specially prepared for such service who are members of the OFS. Myself, I can be appointed as a spiritual assistant if I'm suitably prepared. Secular Franciscans can be appointed. Can you tell me in America how many secular Franciscans are appointed spiritual assistants? We've got a few. Yeah. Okay. Other diocesan clerics. So a diocesan priest can be appointed as long as he's been suitably prepared. I would like, there's Father Matthias. Who else attended the formation workshop for the friars in Rome in 2019, December? Father, were you there in Rome? You were there, and who else?
James.
Please, can the three of you who attended it in Rome, I'd love you to give input and explain these things, please. We need to get throughout Africa, our major superiors, our provincials, custos, whoever we call them, to understand their responsibility, and let's start forming. Have you been able to share what you gain with all the spiritual assistants, all the first order throughout Africa? What have you done about it? What has happened? We've had 3 from South Africa, and we've had them from the countries. We've had Father Tawanda. Are we uniting with, what are we doing as friars to instill this enthusiasm into our order that we are responsible for these children and we're helping them to do what they should do? That's our parents. Sorry, brothers. So please, we need to get something, link up, do something to get this formation going, and then we can invite, once they understand, then we can do formation for all the first order, all your chapters, give it. And then if you can't manage because you've got busy parishes, let's look at the religious sisters we've got. We've got them. But we're getting people taking the initiative that are not parts, they aren't in the right place, and we're getting things happen that is illegitimate. It's not right. So it's not helping us to grow. Yes, my dear.
So I have a comment about who erects the fraternity. Because I think maybe that's one of the issues that I think you are trying to raise. So giving spiritual assistance it's fine, but erecting the fraternity is something different. So when it comes to erecting the fraternity is the first order. But giving spiritual assistance, you could give, the sisters could give, and whoever is appointed can give. But erecting is especially the duty of the first order and first order.
Yeah, and TRR. First order and TRR.
Is prescribed by the General Constitution.
Yes, and in the manual. And in your spiritual and pastoral assistance, it's there. I haven't brought a copy of it. But it's recorded there. They are responsible. They're the parents that sign the birth certificate. Then they actually appoint. They're responsible for appointing. So if the OFM has a canonically erected a fraternity, the Capuchin cannot come in and appoint a spiritual assistant. It's the OFM's responsibility. So if the conventuals, whoever's made that birth certificate, they are responsible for the appointment of a suitably prepared. Who can tell me what formation workshops are there to create suitably prepared spiritual assistance happening? What is happening? That's, I'm passing the buck. We need to pick up on that initiative, please. Africa desperately needs it. Then we can get all the sisters together, all the religious, all the different families, the other congregations that there are, the diocesan priests, everything. They can, if they're interested, they can come and do that formation, that they know what to do. Because we are not a sodality, we are not an association, we are a true order. Remember, we saw that where we belong to the consecrated life. Okay, I think it's time is up there. I don't know what, we've gone on too long. What is it? Yes, sister.
I'm supposed to be an assistant, but my role is not clear as a religious in assisting in that order. Because from your way of talking and from what you shared, I see that there are a lot of structures, legislations, rules, constitutions. But where does the spirituality and charism of St. Francis come in? So that these people know that it's their state of life, it's a way of life, it's not a solidarity like the Legion of Mary, it's not a sweater I put on when I'm cold and off, it's a way of life, you understand? So for me, I have found that our people are not really understanding who they are. They are identity as spiritual Franciscan men and women. There's so much of saying prayers, what to do, visit and what. But what is the essence of their spirituality? If we understand that, then we've got it. From my point of view.
Now, I agree with you entirely, sister, but unless we've been born properly, that's what I'm just trying to emphasize. Our formation and the spiritual assistants help us to get that spirituality right. But unless we're doing this properly, that's what I'm trying to emphasize, because that is our big struggle here in Africa. We've got all this happening, but when you go and say, where's your birth certificate? When I wanted to come in here, I've got to produce my passport. Can you produce your passport? That you're a legitimate secular Franciscan. That's what we've got to do. That is our work, please. And we've got to go back to that basics, but we've still got to get the marriage. Like you'll talk about giving birth. You've got to have the father being the minister provincial, the custos, whoever the provincial is of they should be here present now for this workshop. The provincial of the Capuchins, the OFM, they should be present. Because this is their responsibility, what's happening in this room. Do they know about it? A lot of countries, they know nothing about it. And we're doing all this, but they know nothing about what's happening. So we've got to have a life-giving union of a baby in a mother's womb with the provincial Augustus, every local fraternity who they gave birth to. And then we've got the mothers that are caring for them, everything else that happens, and then giving. We're talking about the organization and structure, and then we'll be going into the actual spirituality and everything else. But unless we get this structure right, we talk about this, and yes, we walk around, we're all secular Franciscans, but we're not born. That's my point. Okay, yes, brother. Sorry, can you just, before we're going to have time for... Okay, this is where our previous General Minister, where we are called to be. And this comes in here. If you've never seen it before, then I ask you, have you ever read anything in your constitutions? This is telling us what we should be. Are we prepared for martyrdom? I loved when I come to Uganda and we saw the martyrs, Ugandan martyrs. What did we get spoken this morning about at Mass? Are you prepared to give your life for somebody else? That is what we're called to as secular Franciscans. Are you prepared to die like Christ died? Are you an army that can be in the vanguard in the church and the world to build a more human and Christian society? That's our mission. And we are not in the religious convent. That's why the habit created such confusion. We are not religious as our families. How do I live the charism in my family life with my children and my grandchildren? How am I living at home? Not when I go to church. How am I living it where I am at work? Am I a policeman? Am I taking the bribes? And I'm a secular Franciscan. I'm a nursing sister. And what am I doing? I'm a secular Franciscans that do it. They're performing abortions. But I'm a secular Franciscan. I put on my habit. When I go to work, I assist with an abortion. I murder a child. What are we doing as secular Franciscans? Sister, this is where we've got to have the spiritual assistance to help us to understand, to live the spirituality of the Franciscan charism. I think that's enough. Yes. Yes, brother.
Amani Nawema. First of all, I would like to thank you, the CEOs, and for initiating the Project Africa. Actually, through Project Africa, we have run a lot. So we really appreciate what has happened. The other thing is about the problem that has been in Africa and maybe in my country especially. I would like to say about what happened before the rule of 1978. you see there was secular Franciscan and the Capuchin and the Conventual and the OFM and so on. So to harmonize now the good learning of the secular Franciscan as one order, I think it has taken quite a number of challenges on the way. And in this case, you find that sometimes it is a little bit hard for the three families to come together and work together for the benefit of secular Franciscan. I'm talking with an experience of my country, trying to bring the conventual, Capuchin, and OFM together. It has been a big problem. I tried sometimes when I was the national minister to bring the spirit together, and it was a bit possible. But right now it is becoming hard. So for me, I would request maybe through the CEOs or the general assistant to bring the workshop which happened in Rome some times back to Africa, so that the major superiors and the religious can understand their role in our life, in the secular Franciscan, because some of them does not understand. I have tried sometimes even to bring them the status of spiritual assistant. They don't understand. And I don't know whether it's our mistake or their mistakes, but I'm sure if they can understand this structure, the things will be in order. So that is my contribution, and Jenny, I really thank you what is happening through the project.
What I've just spoken about, we've got, and I've mentioned the three, and we can ask them also to give some input and to see how we can work and really work with that, and through that trying to get into the family. So the responsibility is there. As much as I said, we secular Franciscans are 10 general chapters. If we are national treasurers and you're not taking down and passing to every local fraternity all the communication, I'm challenging us as secular Franciscans. We've got our friars here today, and we're challenging them, please, to pick up with your major superiors. And we are their responsibility. And you can find ways and means how it can be done in Africa. We don't have to go to SEALs. We as Africa can do it. We each in our own country, we can do it. And this is what this formation workshop's about, to open up. So later on, I'd like you, please, national secretaries, all of you, to tell me which documents you've actually received from SEALs this year. Recently, which documents have you received? And if you haven't received anything, I'm very sad. Then what are your national secretaries and regional secretaries and local secretaries doing that our local professed brothers and sisters are not receiving the communication? What is happening about the celebration of the centenary? What are you doing about it? What plans have you got? When we start doing this, we would actually, our provincials will start getting interested in us, because that is where we work together. And if you haven't received the documents, then you need to ask the international councillor. So your international councillor has got an office that should make sure every single professed member gets all this thing. Otherwise you're electing people into office and they're not doing what they should do. And that's not love. So I'm sorry if I've been very hard, but I'm challenging you to be loving to our brothers and sisters, and let's keep us all together universally. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Wow, thank you so much. Let us add another hand clap. And I'm sure we have all learned so much. The difficult questions we had, some of them have been answered. I think we shall continue to engage with her and understand more where we need to understand. But it is important for us to have such a gathering. Surely it is helping us, and when we move out from here, I'm sure something is going to change down in our local fraternities. So now, you see the time, it is, we have around 12 minutes to lunch time. don't know, do we still have any questions so that in this time we can raise them and they be answered? Yes?
For me, I wish not to put much burden on speech assistants. They can come in when we are ready for their service. The problem is us Franciscans, the way we do things. And sometimes the established orders, fraternities, don't have a chain of command. Somebody is inspired with the life of Francis, he starts the fraternity. Another one in Soroti, he starts the fraternity. Another one, and they are not coordinated. There is no chain of command. So that's why even in important meetings, like a regional, national, you cannot, because the father has not decided, or sister has not decided that his group, her group comes. So that's the problem with the structures. So we need to form maybe a team of catechists or a team of animators, call it, name it, to go. Format, I don't mind, but even the constitution talks of catechists, our constitution.
Thank you, brother, for that.
So that they can go on and they can start those fraternities, and they have the mandate on them to direct them.
Thank you, brother, for that submission, and I'm sure it has been noted.
I just would like to express my gratitude to Johnny. Johnny repeatedly mentioning Ethiopia's kind of a little model. Don't think that we became like a model because we've been through long year in SCF history. Now, why she repeatedly mentioned? Because Ethiopia, we SCF were born equally with Project Africa together. So it's just like 12 years old. So we started with, since this project started, and everything we checked, everything is in order. So this is why we are doing good, because everything, canonical erection and giving birth, and everything is according to the constitution of OFS and the regulations. But that was not only the case in Ethiopia. We had history of OFS 50 years ago. Huge number of SCFOs, professors. Then it was started by a Capuchin parish priest, some place. Then this parish priest was doing very good. And it was happened that this parish priest became a bishop. Then no one knows to follow these SCFOs. Slowly, they just disappeared. And some of them, they went other countries like USA, in Europe. And they wanted to join the fraternity there. And they've been asked to produce some documents from where they are coming. And they came back to Ethiopia and they start to ask, and we provide them about their status, but there is nothing. No document, no proper registration. And then we asked the presidency if the presidency knows these people. They say, we never heard of SCFO in Ethiopia, they say. So this is the challenge for us. Then they just disappeared. So then we started SCFO again from the scratch. Because we learned from the mistake. So my advice here is don't rely on your long history, but check whether you are on right track. I just shocked when I hear that my friend here saying he has canonical erection in oral, verbally. So it's shocking for me. So because from my experience, it should not be like that. It should be written, and the giving birth, there is a proper regulation, and the direction is there. I think it's good. This is an order. This is an order. It should not be started like just in the bush, in the parish, here, there, and no. So I just beg, please learn from our mistake and make sure everything is going right. It's not an order of capuchin, it's not an order of OFM or convention, it's an order by itself. We are just there to assist. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother. Yes, in our lives, we need a North Star to know that I'm doing this because I want to be this or I want this. So, as SFOs and UFRAs, what is our North Star? Where do we want to be? Our theme is saying, let us begin again. For up to now, we have done nothing. Let us, I don't know where we had stopped because he said, let us begin again. So, that is your question, you know how best you will answer it. Yes, sister at the back.
Just want some clarification. What is behind having spiritual assistance from outside the order itself, the third order? Because if in America there are some secular Franciscans who are spiritual assistants, why don't we consider giving the real formation and training to the third order secular Franciscans to handle their spirituality?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sister. I think Sister Genuine has noted that. She will try it.
Sister, there's no problem. There's a spirituality, but we've got the structure of the order, and we work with our First Order and TOR. That is where the Holy Father has given the responsibility to, and that is in, as we had our first letter here, given it to them. With them we communicate and we do formation workshops to get people to be suitably prepared. I can't tell you which article it is, but it's in our Constitution, even in our rule, where we can have others, but it has to be with the major superior, the custos that has given birth. We have to have that communication. Otherwise, we are just getting different groups everywhere else, and we are not a true order.
I think we are family, Franciscan family, and when we do our spirituality, we work together. We cannot say you are there, then we are celebrated. So I think, brothers and sisters, our presence as third order regular has an impact on you, whether you feel it or not. But it's there, isn't it? Even if we're not there, we've done it or things are present, but it's having an impact on you. For me, I think we shouldn't. I know it's challenging for us, third order regular. Our spirits are not there. We've tried to encourage them, and we have many Franciscan congregations regular in Uganda. We've tried to tell them, come on board. These are our children. These are people. We are one. Help us. So we need, because they say now when I come here, I'm bringing it out of my schedule, of my apostle, how I love to do, but it's a sacrifice. Because as we say, we are giving birth to you, so that the kingdom of God is spread. So I don't think we should leave them alone. It's a sacrifice and it's impacting on us. Sister is right, she has done it for a long time. She's trying to bring the young people on board. But it's that love of our spirituality, of one another, that should keep us moving. Otherwise, if we draw back, then we are going to have disintegration instead of unity.
Well, sister, I cannot thank you, sisters, enough for this life-giving union that you are sharing with us. What you're doing for us, that we are here in your house, and how you're caring for us, your love. This is what we are as a Franciscan family. That we are together, we are united. So it's nothing about all what you've done, and we are so grateful to me to see the Franciscan spirituality that there is present in Uganda, in Kenya. I haven't really seen much in Tanzania, but it's wonderful, and I couldn't thank you sisters enough. All my emphasis has been that we've got, and it's a big challenge, don't think we're the only ones that are a problem. Our first order has got a big responsibility to get their provincials and custos or superiors, whoever they are, to pick up their responsibility that Pope has given them to help us have suitably prepared spiritual assistants. And it's absolutely valid what you sisters are doing, but we haven't been given, it hasn't come through, so we haven't got the life-giving union with the first order. That they know what's going on in the local fraternities where you are. They need to be working with you. They need to give you an appointment. You know, you're only allowed to be in a fraternity as a spiritual assistant for a certain amount of years. Is it 12 years or 6 years, Father Matiwas? Brothers, in your statutes, please look. We only allowed 12 years. So we can't be spiritual assistants for 20 years to a local fraternity. You're only allowed for 12 years. So there's a time limit as well. So it's all in our statutes. Unfortunately, because we are legal, we're juridical, we're a true order, we've got these things we have to follow. I don't feel happy standing here telling you, but if I want to drive a car, I need to have a license. I can't just jump into a car and drive. And my license has got to be renewed. Ours has got to be renewed every 6 years in South Africa. Otherwise I'm not allowed to drive. So we've got to follow the regulations. That's because we're in order. We're not just come and disappear and go. Sorry, brothers and sisters, but I think, I don't know, Father's going to be saying lunch, prayers, grace before we leave here for lunch. One of you friars.
And maybe someone had one comment there. Yeah, someone had one comment. Then we get a comment from Father, give us a blessing. So we are going to have a comment from our brother here. Then Father, you come in, you give your comment, then you also give us a blessing for our food.
Thank you very much, Sister Jenny. I am Salesio from Kenya. So please, just a little clarification from you. From the UFRA to become the OFS member, please can you clarify a bit? When does UFRA become a SFO member?
Thank you.
I'll answer that very quickly. What documents have you got of UFRA? That gives you guidelines what to do. When you show me, then we can discuss it again. Let's say prayers and go to lunch. There's documents, there's everything that should be done, it's all there. If you haven't got them, go on to co.info, onto the website, it's all there. Okay, there's a process.
Thank you. So Father, you can come this side. They want to say. And he had not even introduced himself, so some of us don't know him. So,
yeah, it's true, I'm even dark. So to introduce myself, I'm a conventional Franciscan friar, one of the spiritual assistants in Kenya, because we have 3, Capuchin and 5. We are not yet, we haven't gotten the TOR yet. Now, my point is, I'd say my name at the end, because if I mention now, some may forget. So, it is good that we are a family. And in the family, there can be the firstborn, secondborn, and even the lastborn. Now, at times there are tensions between the OFS and the UFRA. And you know, when there are misunderstandings in a family, much is lost. It is good to work with them, because I see the UFRA as a seedbed to vocations. And at times you find that it is so easy when somebody has journeyed in Franciscan spirituality and eventually maybe becoming an OFS or be joining any of the Franciscan fraternity or families, it becomes easier for this person to understand, because he has grown up in this spirituality. And even now, when UFRA maybe wants to join OFS, I believe in the OFS there are formation programs. And I think such a person can join in so well because already he or she has a background, you see. And again, talking of our Franciscan family, I'm very happy when we have sisters or even brothers assisting fraternities in whichever way. Now, if you look at the roles of a spiritual assistant, it is not only that you are a Franciscan. I think Father over there will agree with me that among the duties of a spiritual assistant, first and foremost is celebrating Mass with them. The Eucharist is the center of our strength. Then comes the spiritual accompaniment, be it confession, be it talks, be it even burial of one of the members. It is good when there is a Franciscan presiding over. And apart from that, there are areas where we have even transitors. And you find that when all of us from the UFRA and all other Franciscan congregations are assembled, you find that it is so enriching because you feel you are not alone. We are a family. So when I hear that maybe there is a group somewhere and there is a Franciscan accompanying them, it's very good. But when we leave the floodgates open, that we can even accept the diocesan, of course we have diocesans who are SF or OFS. We agree? Yeah. Those at least can be of much help. But if we say, let them be assisted by even their parish priest, eventually we'll have people who are not formed. Because I remember in one area, there was a group calling themselves Friends of Francis. And they could put on all sorts of attires associated with Franciscanism, from the towel, from the, name them. Even in their in their outstation or whatever they had, San Damiano crucifix. Now, if such groups are not formed, you may find that they can go even to an extent of beginning something that one may not really have the true identity. And now, having such forums, I believe it will enlighten us to understand even what we are supposed to do, because it's easy for one even coming from retirement, maybe from somewhere, and says, I was a OFS, so I began a fraternity. And without proper formation, you'll find that they'll call themselves OFS. But where are their roots? I remember when Sister was explaining, those roots are very important. And the more you climb from the bottom to the top, you find that there is a link. And there is what now we call collaborative ministry, where all of us are a family and we need to work together. Like now, we have to really cherish these Euphras, because now, like back in Kenya at the Catholic University, we have a fraternity of the Euphras. And they are giving a very good example, but in the Franciscan way. So if at all we encourage them, sooner or later when they join various congregations, and especially the Franciscans, we find that these are people who have grown knowing the Franciscanism, and also are aware of what is required of them. And I believe this can make us even much stronger. So, I am Brother Wanzala James. And they said we pray for the food. Will we pray for it seated?
No.